Hi everyone. In the Peace Discipline workshops, I often show a video of an experiment which was done with a lot of different babies and young children called the Still Face Experiment. If you would like to watch this video, it's the Still Face Experiment, Dr. Edward Tronick. Now, if you watch it, which by the way is not a very enjoyable experience, what you will see is a mom being instructed by the experimenter to play with her baby a little and then suddenly make a still face for 2 minutes. So for 2 minutes, she's got to go deadpan and not respond to her baby's signals. So the mom plays with the baby and the baby's enjoying this, and then the mom goes deadpan and doesn't respond. And the baby just tries everything to get her back, trying to be extra cute, pointing at things, trying to do the things they normally do and play together. But mom just continues not to respond. And that's very difficult for the baby. She notices almost immediately something is wrong, and she gets more and more and more upset and distressed. And that's why I say it's not a fun video to watch. But it shows us something very important. When mom stops the still face and starts responding to her again, she feels so much better. You can see it. She's just so relieved. And you feel relieved too watching it, because it feels so unnatural when mom's not responding. As a viewer, you just want to pick that baby up. You want to respond to her. You want to shake the mom and say, please respond. And if you look at the mom, you can see she is struggling. She's struggling not to respond to her baby. So a difficult situation for mom and baby to be in, even though it's only an experiment and it's only 2 minutes. This experiment was repeated with many, many other babies and mothers, and you can see that it causes children distress when their parents do not respond. So let's look at what is really so upsetting for that baby. I mean, her mom is right there. She may be in an unfamiliar situation, but her mom is right there with her. Why does she get so upset? If we think about it, this baby's at an age where she's completely dependent on her mom. She cannot feed herself. She cannot clothe herself. She cannot go to the shops and buy herself diapers or food or anything else that she needs. She is completely dependent on her parents to care for her in order to stay alive. And that's the important piece. It's in order to stay alive. It's not just in order to have a nice time. She is dependent on them for her survival. How does that work, that thing of surviving? Well, she sends signals because she can't speak yet. She sends signals, and her mom and dad respond and care for her. And when we realize that this is how she stays alive, she sends signals and mom and dad respond, we can begin to understand how incredibly distressing it would be if that mechanism stopped working. Because if mom and dad stop responding, the reality is that she could die. On a primal level, we as humans are sensitive to whether people respond to us and how they respond to us, because it's not just about whether we like to talk to people or whether it's nice to get a response. It's about our survival. As humans, that's how we survive. We communicate and we help each other. Now, as an adult, we may forget some of the primal terror that would be associated with a lack of response because we can do a lot more things for ourselves now. But it's still built into us. We haven't really grown out of that need for an attuned response. Think about how you feel when you send a WhatsApp to a loved one and they just don't respond. And you see those little blue ticks. You know they got the message. Why aren't they responding? Now, how you feel will also be dependent on how vulnerable you were when you sent that WhatsApp message. If, for instance, you were on the road with a flat tire, particularly on one of our roads, which can be really dangerous, and you really needed their help, but there was no response, how would you feel? How quickly will that turn into, do they care? Moments where we reach for help and then find that our loved one is not there are never good moments for us as humans. So responses and the kind of responses we get are a very important part of whether we feel safe and whether we feel loved. When we are vulnerable, our attachment systems are primed. being super vigilant of whether people are there for us, whether people are responding in a way which would help us. And that's just how we work. It's just a human thing. So we can understand that on a primal level, as a human being, and especially as a young, vulnerable human being, a lack of response can be really scary. Now, some people say, how could you do an experiment like that? Is that even ethical? Remember, the experiment was quite controlled and only 2 minutes. Actually, children go through this thing all the time. It just doesn't look like the still face experiment. It looks more like this. So that's something to think about. Are our devices and our social media making us less responsive to our children? Because actually, having us respond to them in an attuned way is vital to their well-being and their connection with you and their sense of safety. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that you have to be eye contact 24/7 with your child, responding to their every signal. In fact, if you did try eye contact 24/7 with your child, they would probably start looking away, like, you're a little intense, can you leave me alone? I'm not so into this. Or showing you some other signal that they've had enough. Remember that what we're needing is for you to be in tune with the child's needs. So more eye contact and responding is not necessarily better. It's only better if that's what your child is needing. So remember, what we're talking about is the bigger picture. And I say this because I know that when parents find out about their child's attachment needs and a need for attunement, sometimes they get so scared of doing it wrong that they become kind of paralyzed, like terrified that they're going to mess up the secure attachment that their child needs. And actually, children are far more resilient than that. What you need is, in the bigger picture, mostly your responses to be fitting with the child's needs and signals. And that can be done in the course of a normal day with your children, with other family members and other people and things needing attention. If your child's not getting enough attention, they'll show you, and then you need to take heed of that and do something about it. So the still face experiment, and do have a look at it, gives us a really good example of the importance of attunement to the child and the importance of connection with the child. And it shows us how distressing it is for the child when they don't feel connected and when your responses don't fit with their signals. So this is something to think about. When your child is signaling that they need you, that's an important moment. Are you responding in a way that fits with those needs? It's good to think about your partner too. Do you get into a bit of an argument sometimes because somebody wants to talk about something and the other person just wants to fix it? And the person who wanted to speak about it was not looking for you to fix it. Maybe they were looking for understanding or for a listening ear. That's an example of a misattunement where the listener is not realizing what the other person's actually needing. Are you rushing in with advice that's actually not very welcome? Is your partner wanting to spend time with you, but you're too busy? Is your partner tired, overworked, anxious? And how do you respond to that? The best responses are responses that are caring and attuned. What your partner is often looking for is similar to what a child might be looking for: comfort, reassurance, love and caring. Understanding attunement can help us with something very important: making the home a safe place for every family member, making the home a sanctuary of love and support. When we think about it like this, we can see how incredibly misattuned the old school discipline methods often were. If we think that a child might have been vulnerable, might have made a mistake, might need reassurance and guidance, because when we make a mistake, we're more vulnerable, and instead would get a harsh response, a punishment of some kind, we can see that that's misattuned. The child needed reassurance, they needed guidance, not punishment. We think about situations where a child started to tell a story and the parent cut them off and started telling them off, lecturing them because they felt that the child had done something wrong, and the child didn't even get a chance to finish the story Perhaps some of you can remember situations like that when you were a child. Or perhaps you can remember being accused of something that you didn't even do, and then not being able to explain yourself because it was considered rude to speak back to an adult. Then you had to experience some punitive consequence which you didn't even deserve. When we look at examples like that, we can see how the responses of the adults were so ill-fitting with the reality of the child. And we need to improve on that. So important questions will be, what's going on with this child? What do they need? What was the reason for this behavior? What was underneath it? When we're asking those questions, we can see how incredibly important a skill like listening is. Being able to listen more to the child. Tell me more. And then what happened? Really? And then how did you feel? Or what was that like for you? So that you can really get a picture of what happened for the child. There's no rush. There's no need to be implementing a consequence immediately. The best way to get to a good consequence, the best way to get to effective discipline is to understand the child better and to understand the situation better. So it's not wasted time to listen fully, to ask more questions, and not interrogation questions, not, did you do this? Just questions which open up the situation and allow the child to speak freely and feel safe to disclose as much as possible what really happened, what they were thinking, and how they were feeling, so that you can understand how best to guide them further. So that's something to think about. Are your responses fitting with their signals? How attuned are you as a teacher or parent? We'll be speaking more about this in the weeks to come, but that's all for now. If you would like to find out more about nonviolent discipline, visit our website at www.peacediscipline.com or subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching.